take care of a few things. Appreciate that. Welcome to the new year. Happy New Year to everyone. And hope that everyone has a prosperous and healthy new year. And I hope that our political climate gets better. So, again, we will start with our president's report. And that is that we have a lot of development going on, and they will go through those details. But we want to also let people know about the event that is taking place with us. And we've had the passing of one of our great supporters, and I would say community activists, and that was Marjorie Mason, the mother of our Vice President Dana, and she passed on the 24th of December, the Christmas Eve, and we are very, very sorry for that. But she was I'll say one of our warriors in the early days, and there will be a memorial service for Marjorie on Monday at 11:30 this coming Monday, and at 11:30 at Broad Street Presbyterian Church. And we hope that all are welcome, that you come and attend that. But just to give you a brief chronology of Marjorie and the Bronzeville neighborhood. This starts way back when we reorganized in 2003. And we did a lot of work. We started in 1996 with the King Lincoln Bronzeville Neighborhood Association. Then we reorganized as the Bronzeville Neighborhood Association in 2003. And she has not missed a meeting since then. All the meetings we've had here, she's attended. And even in good health and bad health and in between health, she attended. So we really are going to miss her. But she participated in our first meeting, October 3rd, 2003. And it was held right here upstairs in the sanctuary. And it was packed out. It was something new, different coming into play. We organized, we had a lot of stuff going on in the community that we were very, very much involved in. So that was a very heavy meeting. She also helped and organized the Red Sweater Brigade. We had a youth program that went on, so we had just 25 participants every week. And we had adults as well. And we encouraged, and not only we encouraged to work with their behavior and so forth, but we paid them. They were paid staff. Every week we had a payroll of several $100, because the attitude that we had then was that everyone wants the children to know about money, how to get them to know how they need to work for it and to participate and behave. So they were paid $5 for an hour worth of work cleaning up the neighborhood, and then we took them on trips all over the place. But the funny thing is that we didn't have any issue with it, because this is how we operate. And Marge and Dana's father, Roger, were very much involved in how we work with the kids. And they respected them. That if you were late, you adopt $1. If you misbehaved, you adopt another $1. So you can guess how many people were late and how many people acted up. None. They were not, imagine, you're only getting 5. So before you leave and get working, you're already down $2. So we didn't have any misbehavior. Then we also took them during the summer. We had bus tours to the Underground Railroad Museum. We took them to the Museum of Art here in Columbus, the Symphony. We had them and took them to the Black Nutcracker at the Palace Theater. We were engaged in them 12 months out of the year, and we done that for several years, and then we took them to Cedar Point, Kings Island, and the zoo, Wyandotte Lake. We engaged them. We also did a lot with their schoolwork. If they were not doing well, we worked with them in the after school. So we were very much involved with that. And then we also, Marge also attended many economic development meetings here in Columbus and in Pittsburgh. We went to Pittsburgh with Stanley Lowe with the Manchester district in Pittsburgh, how he transformed that area. And we were all part of that. And also with conferences at the African Studies Community Extension Center. We had the conference there, the Bronzeville Conference. She participated there. We had guest speakers that were nationally known for community activism was at that meeting. So she participated in that as well. And then also the most exciting part is when we were really doing a lot of aggressive work in the neighborhood, we even had to go back to the basic American way of getting things done. We used to protest and picket you if things didn't go right. And Marge participated in several protests / picketing downtown at the Fifth Third headquarters for things that we were not happy with them. We picketed right here on Long Street when things were not going as they should, and we got results. And you can see a lot of that ended up in what we see today on Long Street. So, that was the old-fashioned way of engaging, and even at City Hall, we also did protesting there. So she was very much engaged in that, and Dave would also give some memories from when, he was a child with her. So this activism just didn't happen here. She was very much involved up north at 315 by Riverside Hospital. He'll tell you more about that. But our biggest point was when it was the Monroe cluster. There was a bunch of houses that were placed on Monroe. They moved them from front of the OSU East Hospital, where you have the parking lot now. There were houses there. And they brought them here and sat them on Monroe and the houses that are on Martin Luther King Boulevard, and they were moved there. And the ones on Martin Luther King Boulevard were in better shape than the ones that were put on Monroe. And and also on Garfield, they had one on Garfield. And it was a big controversy with the houses on Monroe because they were set up incorrectly and they started to deteriorate and they just left them there. We had the courts and everything out here that came out of the court. Attorney Pfeiffer came out and had a site visit and a hearing right on the site and determined that they had to be torn down. And
which was a good thing because that's where the Adelphi Quarter is now,
right
between Garfield and Monroe on Long Street.
Yeah,
that site.
That site is where it was. We said that we should be glad we're getting some development there. And we said no, we want the best development. So they tore those down, and we have what we have. But when they were doing it, the owner or the developer had the city made the ruling to have it torn down, and the bulldozer was there getting ready to tear it down, and the person, the developer was there fighting the bulldozer, saying it shouldn't come down, it should be staying there. And my mother and Marge stood in front there and said, if you like these houses so much, then let's have them move to your front yard. And that was the end of the discussion. Then they tore them down. And as a result of that, you have the Adelphi Quarters today in that same location. But that's the kind, stood in front of the bulldozer and said that. And so that's the kind of person that Marge was in her heyday with
that was back before 2000. That was in the 90s.
Yes. So it was a long thing. So we really are going to miss her. She was very big on, and then very supportive of the education program we have now with Bruce doing his. You're going to hear about that later. And also the cleanup, because we started at the cleanup that Jim is doing. So we appreciate what she was very much when she was able in the community. And that's what we call grassroots, activism. And she supported all of us. So we're going to miss her. But again, if you're free on Monday, this coming Monday, at 11:30, please, you're all welcome to come to Broad Street Presbyterian Church and have a final goodbye and memorial service for Marjorie Mason. And we thank you for that. And with that, I'll turn it over to our Vice President for some reflection and development that's happening.
And I'll make one little addition, major addition, about my mother, Marjorie, that made an impact on me. When I was a little guy, got up to the waist in the 60s, early mid-60s, the 315 was being discussed. That's the freeway that runs up by Riverside Hospital and goes up to 270. At that time, it ended there at Ackerman Road by OSU. So the discussion was to take the freeway up behind Riverside Hospital and through where Kobacher House is now. That was a big woods. Go through there and then back up to the river where it is now. But where I lived with my parents and brother, who was in that small housing development immediately behind Riverside Hospital. And we in that neighborhood, my parents and other people in that neighborhood, said, no way. We weren't going to let that happen, because they bought those houses, they owned the properties, and Union Cemetery, just to the south of where Broadway is now by Riverside Hospital, had vast acreage of vacant land. They said the freeway should go through vacant land that has nothing on it. The cemetery said, we will not let that happen. By state law, you can't take land that we own, no matter if it's used or not. If we hold it, you can't take it by eminent domain. A lot of letter writing. It took several years. I remember going down to the State House. I remember being in the gallery. I remember all these people, all this discussion. We won that battle. My parents and the other people in that neighborhood won the battle. They changed the law. They said you can take vacant, unused land from a cemetery. They do not have more power over people who own their homes. As a result, you have what they call the hospital curve now. That's why it is so sharp like that. So they get back to the straightaway along the river. As a result, that made an impact on me. And I always remembered that, and I'm proud with what they did. And Mike Willis, his mother in Harlem, also, they did incredible things also too. Willis and I had that similar background from being just waist high and going with our parents to all these meetings. So with that, thank you for your time, and it's always a pleasure to tell that story. And with that, then I'll move on to development issues here in the neighborhood, in the Bronzeville neighborhood. And we, like I've been saying for some time, we have so many things that are happening. And one of the big projects that's about to take place is across from Trinity Baptist Church on St. Clair. And to be clear, we have always supported the housing that churches need to do and the housing that churches are doing. The only difficulty, major difficulty actually, is sometimes in how it's done or the processes by which it is going to be done. That is our difficulty with this. Again, we support the project for the housing. It's needed. We are looking forward to the housing because it is needed. And we wish them the best of luck. We still say, if you had listened to our possible solutions and what we would offer, we think you would have a different outcome with the final project. So, good luck with whatever comes of it. Yes?
Yeah, to be particular problem with how they're going to get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What it was is that the way how it's set up now is where when it's done, you will see that it doesn't connect to the actual community. Everyone, the activity is to the back. We were saying that people here like to be on their front porch or they have things. So it would look nice, but it would be like it's there, but it's not parked. You look around, everything has a porch or you have access to the front streets or whatever it could be. If you look at the same type of housing on Livingston, that National Church, you see how it blends in with the environment. You look at it, it's not, you don't see the back of the building. Mm-hmm. And that's what we were trying to get them to understand. But how the process went, it was that they didn't need to speak to us. And as a result of that, what you're going to see is whatever they have designed.
Right.
And we tried to say you can have something better. It just a matter of what they presented was on paper. It can have been modified, but their attitude is, hey, who are y'all to do that? So it was that kind of arrogance that really threw us for the loop. But we tried to it, and then it got into a real funky situation. And we just said, hey, if that's what you want to do, and the city approved it, and NEAC approved it, so be it. But it could have been when it's done, you will then see what we're saying. If you go over on the west side on, what's that street?
Glenwood.
Right there. You will see what we're saying. And the people that live there on summer days, you'll see them on chairs sitting on the sidewalk. Because it looks like almost like a prison. You're in there. And you're inside the parking, inside the middle of the building is where the parking is. So you got to sit down and be in the viewing of the cars coming in and out. So that's what and there was some other minor things that will make the building more welcoming to the community.
One of the major things that we were wanting to make some changes to, the historic St. Clair Street. If you notice when you drive up the street, every house, St. Clair Hotel, which is now apartments, the beautiful Trinity Baptist Church, everything faces the street. The front doors face the street, the porches face the street. People can go out and sit on their stoops. They feel like they can see the street. But the project, as it was presented to the Near East Area Commission and was approved by City Council, the actual entry and the front door is in the parking lot, which is actually on the back side. The side facing the historic Trinity Church is the back of the building. It has no sense of being the front. So it is an alien building on historic St. Clair. And for that facade to face the historic church of the unbelievable Mayor Scarborough, who happened to be the pastor of that church, we thought was a disappointment. And we so much wanted to enhance what they were doing. So that's where we are. Yes.
Well, old dogs don't die alive. Y'all still carry the burden. Let me say, you folded and you lost.
No, we didn't lose.
Well, you did because they built it.
No, we did not lose.
I read and I told
We
you.
support the project.
Yeah, we did. We
made that.
I said right in this room when you said you were against it.
No, we were against the design.
I said and heard your words that day.
No.
I had nothing wrong with me.
It's in the
You said
minutes
you
of
were
the commission
against
meeting.
it.
No.
No, we wasn't against it. We just said it was against the design.
Against you.
Yeah. We were against the design. We still stand for that, but not for the project, for the housing project. And that, if you look at, again, I hope everyone's around to see it. You look at Long Street. We were involved in every building that came out of the ground at Long Street, even the building on 18th and Oak. We had the design features of those. And look how nice they blend in. Look how it does to the Long Street. Even the infill housing that comes to the neighborhood, we have input. We were trying to share that experience with them. But the administration of it said, no, we don't want to listen to y'all. So when you see it, when it is done, you would then say that we want housing for people. We told them that at NEAC. But yes, it is the bottom line. But you can have both. You can have something that looks nice. Just because you have housing, you want people to have something that looks nice, and to make it look like it doesn't fit is always going to have that same feeling. So all we wanted to do is that no, we're not here for people to come put what they want. We want them to come in and put things because this neighborhood has a character of it. So we want that, because those big developers that you see on Long Street, those buildings cost a lot more than that, and they listen to us. And look at the beauty that you see on Long Street. Look at the one on Hamilton, the deal. And we also got them to do a lot of that. That whole building was turned completely around by us talking to them about how it sets where it is. And what you see today, we had input in that design. Turning the whole building to face west. That wasn't how it came to us at our living room table. So we want people to understand, yes, we're here, but we want appropriate, sustainable development, and we want to have input in this design. And we're going to stand firm on that. And because that happened was because there was the lack of understanding that we can be positive. Just because we challenge you doesn't mean that we hate your project. We have the right to do that. That's all. We had a disagreement of how it should look. And we know from our experience that when it is done, you're going to say, wow, it doesn't feel right. I can guarantee it. But that's okay. We got the housing for people. That's good. And we're going forward with it.
Let me say this.
Yeah.
You know, we look at Deal, that doesn't fit in the historical neighborhood either. That bill, that's not old structure or whatever. That's a contemporary model. Look at that. Look at that apartment complex. That doesn't fit in either on Sinclair. Let's talk the truth. Let me finish. Let me finish.
Yeah.
But I'm very upset because I think we have to think about, what about black folks? I'm black to the bone.
Right.
Black to, wait a minute. You ain't black. I'm black to the bone. I don't know where you at, Willis.
Okay.
I am black to the bone.
Right.
You can't look outwardly and tell. Okay, he looked at you because you got color on you. You got brown skin. I ain't saying you are black to the bone. Listen to this. We need housing for black folks. They came in and said, we will have affordable housing when we built this unit. What did Kelly say when he came to this meeting? We were not going to have any affordable units. When he said that, I was at the meeting.
He never said that.
We said, could you get Section 8
Yes, if you have a voucher, you can do it.
He would not.
That's
in
right.
that stage, he must have checked. He said they were not going to do it. We need that the homeless, the troubled people. This is going to be some housing, so at least they have a place to stay at reasonable rents.
Right.
That's the bottom line. And how it looks, it's a roof over my head.
Okay.
It's warm.
Wow.
It's clean. Let's get real.
Okay.
You know, because Bronzeville has got so, for the more middle class elitists, that we have excluded people.
Okay.
And then when they came in and said national church residency, he said the minister, Victor said, Reverend Victor, said we waited 7 years. We've been fighting this and trying to get this stuff. We finally got someone that came in and said we will build and work with you. And so they jumped on.
Okay.
Tell me about it.
All right, now
we have a question. You have a question?
No, I was just saying that I get why you want to have that back porch area, and that's like a perfect idea. But the thing is that if you're doing it, if they're trying to remodel, if they're remodeling it, if they're doing like a whole deconstruction of that whole area, you kind of don't want to put those. You kind of don't want to put that back porch right there, because what they're. I think what it's going to be is that they're going to like remodel that back porch.
no, that's all new construction. It's a parking lot right now.
It's a parking lot.
Completely new construction.
Yeah, it's all brand new. Yeah.
There is no remodel
Yeah.
in that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
But my final statement on this, before City Council President Hardin supported and advocated for churches building on their land, and he has a name for that, and he's been promoting it for the past year, Willis Brown and myself had advocated for churches in this neighborhood in particular, because we have so many, including Trinity, to build on their land. We have been doing this 25 years, okay? And we've called out the churches repeatedly. We support any church that wants to do that. So that's why in this project, we support the project, okay? But that doesn't mean we support everything that's being done in the name of the project, okay? We support the project. So,
An example of that is Shiloh. It was us that worked with Reverend Gilliard to have those in the ground.
Yes.
And we spent a lot of time, over a year, working with him in the basement, to get him and the developer to do something. So he was the first one, and that was important because everyone had all these doubts about we going to lose the land and whatnot, and we stepped out many times, and we made that happen.
Yeah.
So we also want housing, and we have no problem with that. But I think it's a basic misunderstanding that yes, we want housing, but we want things to be a certain way, and I think we as residents here. We are the stakeholders here that live here should have some say in what it looks like. And I'm not here, and I grew up in New York City. I know what the projects look like. I know when you put houses that look poor, people take on that poorness. I know what that is. So what I'm saying here, as long as we're living here, anyone coming to Bronzeville to build anything we're going to have some say. Pastor Victor Davis made it clear he didn't have to speak this, and he made it clear. And so it was his attitude that said, we don't need to listen to you. So you got what you got. Okay, he forced everyone, they gave it to him with the understanding that we have to have housing. Yes, there's nothing wrong with having housing, but we're saying what we want to do is give people something that has some form and function, and then that's fine, and we accept that. But we can't. We're not going to say because we're here, everyone needs housing, and you're going to come give us a shake, rattle, and roll. We're not going to do that. And I've seen some of the buildings. Maybe you should look at some of the buildings that National Church Ministries have done around the city. Some of them are 10 times better looking than what we're getting here now. I'm just telling you. So why couldn't we get that? You talk about being black. Why don't the blacks demand that? That's what we would do. You go look at their building over on Livingston. You go look around, see how nice they look compared to what we're going to get here. I want you to go do that, and then next week let me know what you see.
I've been
Well, that's why we say.
I know from the beginning about that.
No, I'm talking about how it looks.
Yes.
We are concerned. Why should we have something that can be better, taking what is acceptable? And we're not going to do that. This is one that he forced to happen, fine, but no more. And we're going to make sure you coming here, no matter what you build, we want to have some say for its design. Because no one knows the neighborhood like us. The developers don't know it like us. We live here. Even he don't even live here.
Which leads us to the other
I live in the
project
city
with the
of
towers.
No.
That pay city taxes, and you part of the city of Columbus.
Yeah, but you can't say that.
We live in the city of Columbus. That's what
But you
counts.
can't go to Drummondville and tell them what to do.
I lived in Germanville before.
Do you live there now?
Yes, I had 7
Not
foot
now.
mohawk.
Did-
I lived there.
Right.
So I know Germanville.
Okay,
I've
I
been
go
to
to
the
Drummondville and tell them what to do. I live in Bronzeville.
They had codes that you had.
Well, we have codes too. We're not second to them. And I'm just going to make that very clear that we want that. As long as we keep sacrificing our respect for who we are, other neighbors can do it. We say, oh, they can have it because they're different. No, we're the same. We're equal. And I'm not going to allow that. I don't care whether they're black, green, or purple. You know, when you come into us, you sit down and talk to us and say about what we do. We have the experience of Bronzeville. If you don't live here, then you cannot have the same experience that we have and know we have the understanding of what fits and what doesn't fit. You should have seen what Glenn was going to put there by the Adelphi on Monroe. We had to push that back, but we got something better because we said we want something better, and we're going to continue to push that. We mentioned about the neighborhood is moving up in economic value, but when every time we say that, and every time that you mention about gentrification, we must say, as a scientist, the physics state no two objects can occupy the same space at the same time. Therefore, when you talk about gentrification, you got to say black flight. Whites couldn't move in if blacks didn't leave. And we must understand that. And every building has come up in this community as of today, it was on vacant land. We have not moved out anyone. If you want to do a fight, check with the city, the commissioners for the county. All the taxes are going to run people out, not us. We made it clear. We're not having anyone being run out of Bronzeville because whites are moving in. We made that clear. We fought that at city council. We will continue. But you should rally people to go to the county who stuck it to people like Mrs. Lula, who's 90-something years old. Her taxes tripled in 1 year with a fixed income. Now you're talking about black. That's black on black crime. So let's talk about that. That's what's going to run us out of here, not white people coming in. So let's be clear. You're talking about blackness. I'm here to help you with that. Well, what I'm saying, when you mention gentrification, you have to say, what about the blacks that left? Let me tell you the 3 blacks that existed back then when they were running out of here. Those who had the money said, I'm getting out of here because things are changing. Those who wanted to have an opportunity to do it, left. Those who stayed here were 2 people. One who loved here and didn't move because things got worse, and those who didn't have the resources to move. So all those that ran out of here, look how they come here on the Thursday when they have the jazz. But yes, I had begged them to buy one of these houses when they were cheap. Know what they said? That's for the black people. That's the ghetto. Well, let me tell you, you spend $50,000, $500,000 now in the ghetto. Shame on you. You can't make it. We can't go back, or we begged them. I moved over 18 people in here that purchased houses that live here today. Myself, that purchased houses today and in the past, since I've been here. So when we talk about that, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but in Bronzeville, we said that's not going to happen. And we made it clear, we're not going to get under that thing of gentrification, moving people out. Let's go down, and I'll be first to go down with you downtown to the county and said, how did we have people that look like you and me that allow taxes to jump 3 times without bringing us to the table? Now, let's talk about how that happened. How did that happen? You talking about blackness? Well, I'm sure those people who went along with it were black like you and me. I mean, I'm just telling you, I don't play that because I know the real rhythm of here in Bronzeville. People are coming to me, Mr. Brown, I need help with my taxes. And I've been working with them, going downtown to help them, get people to work with them.
You should do.
But yeah, I know I'm doing that. But what I'm saying here, that we can't just use that color be the issue. The issue is economics. And right here, now other cities may have the issue, but here in Bronzeville, no one has been moved out because a black person, because a white person moved in. Ask those blacks that left who said they didn't want to be around the poor black people that looked like them. Ask them why they left. So I'm saying, but here in Bronzeville is a very unique situation. We haven't lost anyone because of that. Now I said, physics state no 2 objects can occupy the same place at the same time. If they didn't leave, no one can move in. So when you leave, then you open the door. It's America. Wherever it is, so we fight that. And we make sure to get people here. Dan and I both recruited people to move here that are black like us. Even he has done that, and they're here today. So yeah, we don't mind that. We were not going to be held with no gun about the gentrification.
And we pleaded with any number of people, predominantly black, please don't leave the neighborhood. We've been doing that for 20-some years,
Yes.
and Willis was doing it before I ever met him. Please don't leave, don't leave. So many people left of their own free choice.
Right.
They weren't forced out.
They were afraid
They said this neighborhood will never change. It's the ghetto. It will always be the ghetto.
Right.
I'm getting out.
Yes.
I don't know how many times I was told that to my face. I said, really? Come on, don't do that. You pleaded. You pleaded. So now we're suddenly those people who forced those people out. No, that did not happen. Did not happen. Yes.
If we tried to at least turn them into landlords, why not just take their homes, try to tell them that, hey, why don't you try to purchase it? Since you've already got the house and you purchase it, why not you just rent it out as a landlord?
But what happened? A lot of those who own their houses, they went with the black flight. Well, I'm gonna sell it now because it's not gonna get any better. And like we said, from the old administration. So what we have today said this neighborhood will never turn around in this lifestyle. So what I'm trying to tell you, that we've all died and came back.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. Because they told me that at city council, and they made it clear this neighborhood will never come back in our lifetime. So we're all in our second lifetime now.
2010.
I'm just telling you, we have to fight that.
Almost 16 years ago. That was the general attitude.
That's right.
That's where those poor, unfortunate people who are stuck there live. As a result, we'll go to the other one that we have, the Trump housing crisis, affordability in housing.
Let's go
This
back.
is one of the greatest crises of Trump administration. But in this neighborhood, we can put it back to 2008, when the economy cratered, housing starts stopped. The federal government came up with the wonderful program, we will give cities money for tearing down dilapidated housing. Slum clearance like they did in the 60s. So 2008 they did that. As a result, the city of Columbus, Mayor Coleman administration, received all kinds of monies that were earmarked specifically for demolishing inferior, dilapidated, falling down housing. Guess who had a lot of that? That was us. Except for one thing. I was on the Near East Area Commission at that time, and the commission is notified that certain address or addresses in our site hearings are going to be considered for demolition. Please go by, have a site hearing, do your identification and what your concerns are, and vote on it whether you support the demolition. I can't tell you how many times Kathleen Bailey as chair, myself and the other commissioners pulled up, they already tore it down. That happened for years. Guess what? There were a few cases when the houses were there And a lot of them were on Harvard, Atchison, over in the area on the other side of Champion, going toward Taylor. When you saw those houses, if they hadn't already been torn down, they were very solid houses. Porches were solid, foundations were solid. They weren't breaking, cracking, or anything. They could have been rehabbed. Which brings us to now. Do you realize the cost of building a new house from the ground up is astronomical? You'll be lucky to get it for under $400,000 in this neighborhood. Do you realize if you purchase an existing house that is stable and you redo it, you could do it for half of that? So do you realize they eliminated so much reusable housing? They wiped it out, left vacant lots. So the only thing that could be done was to build new, very expensive housing that, I don't know anybody in here who's got the ready cash to buy a house like that. There's not too many of us. That's what caused one of the major housing crises in this neighborhood.
Right.
So the Trump housing crisis that we now have, I don't know if he's going to be able to make any difference. So that's one of the frustrations that we have in this neighborhood when it comes to housing. It was created in this neighborhood. So now, yes.
I just wanted to say something because I think it's important. If you don't know,
Let me know who you are.
Yeah, State Representative Latina Humphrey, Ohio House District 2. I just wanted to say this one thing because I think it is very important. We talked a lot about property taxes and pushing people out. I do want to say this because I think it's so important. That is a state issue. And unfortunately, our state is not moving in a direction that is giving people relief to try to address increasing property tax rates. As you know, the county auditor assesses the value based upon the ORC, means what we set into place as a state house. And then our treasurer just sends out the notification. I think the other part, so basically what I'm trying to say is the state is increasing your property taxes, not the city of Columbus. But one thing that I think is important to mention, back to your point, Mr. Mayor, is that the city, I know that you may have probably had conversations about how does the city go about addressing or providing relief in the city's capacity to our seniors and folks with disabilities. The problem with that is the city is preempted by the state and they don't allow the cities to try to provide that relief. And so we're trying to find some loopholes and stuff like that. But I just always like to be clear with folks. If you have an issue as it relates to property taxes, understand that that is a state issue and we need you all's help at the State House to try to address those things, because I don't see the help coming, as you mentioned, even with the Trump administration. So just wanted to say that.
It'll just increase regardless, especially when you're talking, if we're going to be talking about state property tax going by the state. Ohio is going to be a machine. All the data centers that we have from New Albany and everything like that, property taxes are just going to increase. And especially when it comes to the city of Columbus, especially, I mean, they're just going to increase regardless, because they got to go, once they start doing that, they're not just building that housing, they literally got to go underneath the streets to ensure that our sewage line is good, to ensure that our electrical wires are proper, and to ensure that, you know, we have like underground fiber cable, so that way we can put some 5G, that way we can watch Jeopardy on 5G television. So it's just one of those things where I don't even know if we could, I don't know if we can even take down that property tax, especially.
I think that there can be relief. That I want to be clear. We have presented lots of opportunities for relief for targeted populations, seniors, folks with disabilities, folks who are veterans, all the things. The problem is my colleagues are not willing to do that, and it's a bipartisan issue. So it's coming from the top of the top, and I don't know if I feel like there will be some relief, but it's minor, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But, Yeah, I just think that I want to be clear, which is why I said we need help. I've introduced a property tax freeze bill. Senator Craig has introduced a homestead exemption modification bill. People have done the circuit breaker bills. I think even Senator Craig has a circuit breaker bill as well, as it relates to if your income exceeds this amount, then you don't have to pay X, Y, and Z amount of property taxes. There are options. And even Republicans have introduced similar pieces of legislation. But what I'm getting at is that it's coming from the top. Who's in leadership in the State House? They're the ones that are deciding they don't want to put relief onto, helping people. Like, and this is a bipartisan issue where, like, we're introducing stuff, they're introducing stuff, but the top of the top is like, hey, I don't know if that's what I'm going to do.
If that's the case, then it should go back to the old-fashioned way. Like, you and others should come and rally the neighborhood. The people need to do a march. I mean, this is still a democratic way where the people can go down, because yes, like you said, these are the guys on top, but they're put there by other humans. They're not from the sky.
Absolutely.
They have to be forced by people coming up in a march. And I'm from the era of marching. You get the whole people to go down there. And I don't want them to be held at this, that they can't be shaken. Then let's organize. You and Herschel Craig come and say, look, we're going to walk down there. We're going to do it every week until they make an adjustment. We have to go back to that. We cannot sit down at the table and close doors and negotiate what the benefit for others when these on top could care less. So we have to show what America still is, that you get the people to come together and move in one motion. What happened with the lady being shot by the ICE people? I mean, look at all the marches across the country. And if the person is dead, they're not coming back. But what I'm saying here, if we march, if we go down there with your leadership and Herschel Craig before he leaves, then that's what those stubborn individuals above have to relate to. But if we sit down in the room and negotiate with them, they can do what they want. Well, so I'm just saying that this is something for this coming year, that if you want us to be successful in doing things to change something that you may not be able to do because of you're in that thing, the people still have some impact. If you bring out 500,000 people down there and say, we want this, you need those few individuals up there can say no. We have to go back to that. We cannot sit in the same room to negotiate when they have the power.
Right, Mr. Mayor, and I want to say that I definitely agree with that. That's what I was getting at as far as saying we should come together. Yes. And in fact, my office is hosting an event, you'll get an invite soon, where we show people how to properly testify in committee rooms. I think marching is important, but we can rally people to come to committee hearings and provide testimony in mass numbers. I think that they will listen to it. So that's the point that I was getting at. So I definitely agree. Just wanted to clarify my point.
And we're going to all sign up and be there.
Another very important aspect of the situation in this neighborhood, and it's true in many other inner city neighborhoods, tax abatements. There are those of us who have lived here a very long time whose taxes have gone like this, and there's people who come in and they get 5-7 years tax abatement. 15 years. 15 years. Right. Who stays in a house for 15 years? So there's people, the people that live here a long time pay for people who come in for a few years and leave. Come on, that's not right.
So we need to.
So there's a lot of us that aren't happy with that situation either. I don't care what color you are, what age you are, we're being done in by tax abatements in this neighborhood. And
when is the deal going to open?
The deal will open this year sometime. I'm not sure
we got to know when.
Well,
I spoke with Michael about 5 months ago, and he said they're working on it. They're having some delays. They haven't put the sign up yet, the clock. They're getting some other small thing, but they're still working on it. He'll let us know when that will be. But they put up one sign. If you look on the street sign on Long Street, you have the deal. And you can look at that and you'll see. So they're getting it together. They're doing some stuff inside, but he said he'll let us know when that will be.
And we'll let you know when the Bronzeville sign gets put on the top of the building.
With the clock.
I got you.
If you have any trouble seeing it, just drive on the freeway and you'll see it from there. And so we're excited about that. real exciting.
Yeah.
So then another major project we have are the towers.
Yeah.
I've led. And that's the
Levine project.
Levine project.
Right.
And the Levine project are the two towers that are over there by what used to be Monroe Middle School that was just torn down. So the plan is for those to come down to the ground, but they have to go through an extensive process where they do all kinds of mitigation for all kinds of hazardous everything that's inside that building. And we had a community meeting, about a month, 6 weeks ago, at the neighborhood house, and we invited all the neighborhood residents surrounding it in the neighborhood, and we had Channel 4 there. And they had the Lowen Deck and others involved in the soon-to-happen demolition project. So it was very informative. So we will update you as it comes along. But the critical thing to remember is, as a result of it being closed down because of the water situation there at Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, whenever that happened several years ago, everybody left. They left everything in the room. That means they left the clothes, they left the bread, they left the cottage cheese, they left salami, they left everything where it was. Guess what? When you go in there several years later, it'll knock you dead. So they have to go in there, they have to fumigate for any kind of creatures, they have to do other things for air quality, they have to do all that before they can even go in there and remove stuff. So then they have to go through and they have to remove everything from every closet, every dresser, all the furniture, everything that was just scattered all over the place. So you can imagine how long that would take in your own house. So they do that in each unit. So once they get it all cleaned out, it all goes to a sanitary landfill. Then they go through the process of actually demoing the building. So that can give you an idea. This is a very elaborate, extensive process before we even get the building down.
And they're going to do a deconstruction. So there won't be no big wrecking ball. They're going to go floor by floor, and you'll see it come down. Every floor will come down, tear it down in that manner. And then we're involved with them, and we're in the process of also getting the design of the building to make it more palatable, and the other services that it will have. We are right on the front end with them with that. And also we are also thinking and talk with them about the Monroe School lot and the Felton Elementary School lot that's there. Because as they get building, those two other areas are also up for development. And so we don't know what's going to happen yet, but we are also talking with Levine, and they're talking with the school board about what the potentials will be for those other lots for housing or whatever stuff that we want to do. But the housing, there's going to be about almost 400 units. They took out 400, they're going to put like 300 and something units back there. So it's going to be something. And now that's something that you're going to see that's going to have a lot of time at the meetings for its design, because we're not having to put that kind of mass, just having it there, because it faces the freeway. So you want it to look a certain way. And they have back, so we had this discussion on the front end. After our experience with the Scarborough, we went on the front end to say, look, you come in here, you're doing this 7.5 acres. We want you to understand that we are going to have some input. And they said, fine, but we understand you know the neighborhood better than us. So we already have some preliminary discussions with them about design and look and where things are going. So it's going to be a nice project, especially because it views the highway. So we want people, when they see that they see something beautiful, and they agree to work with us on the design. And there's also going to be gardening and other kind of activities that's going to be included in that 7.5 acres. And so it's going to be a nice project as we start to move forward, and especially with the adjacent land that we're going to be discussing as we go forward. But we have some ideas, but they have this, so we're trying to work that out with everyone.
And so this is another opportunity that we, the neighborhood, Bronzeville Neighborhood Association, took the lead and made a discussion with the city and said, we need to be part of this. The city agreed, The developer then, communicating with the city, agreed. So we were brought in at the very beginning on this project. So we're part of the team, which has happened on numerous projects on Long Street. That's how we like to have things happen, but they don't always happen that way. So we're looking forward to this project. It's going to take a while, and we're looking forward to community participation. We had, like I said, we had the big meeting at Neighborhood House, and we had opportunities for people to ask questions. So you're always welcome. We don't do anything behind closed doors. We always broadcast it and put it out on our site. We encourage you, our neighbors, our people, to say something. Please do in the future, okay?
And that's going to be on the low side, $150 million project on the low side. And that was the numbers from now. Things, by the time they start putting stuff in the ground, it's going to be much more than that. And they're committed to doing it. So we're going to make sure that the community is also engaged so that it fits in. And they're willing to work with us with other things too. We've also asked them about can they help us with other things in the neighborhood social program, like we have our cleanup program. Can they put funding to that, our gardening, and they're amenable to that. They want to be part of the positive side of the community, but that's down the road.
And we've had developers that have done that in the past, that have contributed things in the neighborhood. So that trend has been established, and they're willing to be part of that. And the other thing, a little sidelight, at the far southwest corner of our neighborhood, the Bronzeville neighborhood, at Broad Street and Jefferson, are those two old houses from the 1870s. No, Broad Street.
Yeah.
Right at the corner of our neighborhood. They are now up for sale for $3 million.
And we tried to do something back in the day.
So.
Yeah. We said we had a plan for that. We met with them to try to have it redeveloped for housing and.
Well, those are those beautiful houses that come off the freeway.
Right.
They used to come off the freeway there.
Mm-hmm.
They're at that.
Right.
Jefferson.
So everything is changing.
Yeah, and the neighborhood has true value.
But I want also to put out here that we've been also trying for a long time that we have all this construction going on. And people can say, oh, we want black folks in there, but we don't have them trained. We've been down to city council on many occasions. And even with our Senator Herschel Craig, he was supportive. We have to begin to train our folks in the skills of carpentry, electric, mason, anything with the building. There's a big warehouse off of Joyce. I go there all the time. I'm looking for our folks. Not that they can't get it. We're not skilled. We went to council saying, you got to train. They laughed at us. Look at today. They didn't know this was coming. Well, they knew it, but they didn't believe it. Now, we can talk about, are we going to be in the business of just housing poor people that can't get anything? Or are we going to have to move people up to make $20 and $30 an hour? How do we do that? The city should be proactive. And you look on the transcripts. We've been proactive. We knew this was coming. And you can check with our senator. He was there supporting us on this effort. We need to train our folks in the neighborhood on these jobs, such as the plumbing, the carpentry, the masonry, all those things finishing. We don't have them. These big projects, they make good money. And all our bills that come into Bronzeville, there's very few of us on them, on the projects. So we talk about, what do we do, how we do. We have to start having the trade schools and getting people, aggressively getting people to be skilled in these areas of construction. Because this is just the beginning. Like I said, we've been talking to the Nuveen, and we said, we want you, and they're open to us working with them to get more. So we have at least a 2-year window that we should be putting individuals in certification programs to fill these jobs that are coming. They're bringing people from Southern Ohio, Indiana, all places, and housing them here to build our buildings in our city. So I'm saying, this is the vision that we have to start now, so that when it's done, we can't cry and say we want black people on the job. Oh yeah, they're gonna sweep the floor, or sweep the toilet, or sweep the floor. But they didn't have whatever they have.
Don't feel like that.
That's how I feel. And that's when you see these job sites. the people that are making the $20 and $30 an hour, doing something more, creative. But they'll bring us at the bottom and say, well, you'll just be a flyer, And I say that because if we don't do it, that's all you're going to be as black, being the flagman, the direct traffic. And I put that out there because we can do better now. We can make the effort now. We have to train them. That's why we wanted Pilgrim to be a trade school.
We've been saying that for 25 years.
And now it's going to be into something else. But we have to have something
For those who are watching, the old timers, remember all the meetings we had at the African American Study Center over the years, way back 2000, even before, where we all talked about we need to have jobs for the black community, we need to have construction jobs, we need to have union jobs, and Pilgrim, we need to do it at Pilgrim. That was said, if not 10 times, 100 times by many of us. Did it ever happen? No. So who's on the jobs now that reflect the general majority in the population? They're hard to find.
I have a question. Has there ever been any conversation with any of the vocational schools to have kind of like a feeder program from East High School or Champion, where they come in and grade or middle school?
Yeah, Columbus State has various programs.
At East?
Well, Columbus State does.
Yeah.
So, no, I'm saying like
at the high school.
At the high school level, there's a relationship then where, because I think absolutely money is a motivator for many people, but for the youth in particular.
Right.
So you compare fast food restaurant wage to say a welder's wage, and you say you're going to get this if you join into this program. Then I'm just wondering if there's been a conversation,
yes,
or can be with Columbus State to say, can you create an inroads program at East High School and Champion that in 10 years you will have the workforce to build, and these projects sound like they're going to be going for that long and beyond. But if a 4-year college is not an option for a youth at that time, a 6-month to 2-year trade program is more.
Right. We did have that in place. We were all excited. That was when Poindexter Village came down, and we had all the community input and all the things, and OSU Hospital was planning some major expansion. East High School was going to be a feeder for students wanting to go into medical professions. So the Columbus Public Schools were going to be part of that. And it fell through. It didn't happen. East High School was right there by OSU East. And the community was excited. So again, we were left holding the bag. That was a major effort and things put together to have that happen.
So now we have to do it. And I agree. I think this season, this year, we should reach out and I'll look into that, because I don't want to be on the other side of the coin saying, well, we told you so. I want to look into that. And hopefully by spring we can have some direction from somewhere, where we can start that training program for the youth. And to high school, I'm saying, where they can become a feed right. We have a lot of construction coming. So I have to look
even middle school, because if it's like, for instance, JROTC they have, right? Then you have ROTC. Like I feel like even if you start at a Champion middle school, and then you're doing well at Champion with this vocational wood shop. I remember taking wood shop. I love wood shop.
Yeah.
And you go from that to now you did well in that, so now you're gonna go, when you go to East, you're in that program already. So you're far ahead of it.
So we have to look at. I'll look into that, because we need to have that process revisited again, to have a feeder line from there up into the construction industry. Because it's coming in 2 years. We're going to have all that dust moving at the Sawyer Towers. That's 7.5 acres that's going to be built. It's going to take several years. So in 2 years, the construction is our respite to get ready when they start to rebuild.
And the whole Taylor corridor, that's all medical. I mean, OSU hospitals, like all the hospitals in the city, never stop building. Each year they do another little addition or major construction, and then another one, it goes on indefinitely.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to have a steady project development going on in the neighborhood.
And
I can see that.
Yes, they always have that. They have the technical schools have that now. They train them. And Moses, who bought the neighborhood house, just spoke the Thursday Club 2 days ago. He's establishing technology and stuff and training so they will have those technical skills. He's committed to the black folks, getting those technical certificates or whatever. Moses, they're right there in the neighborhood, right there in the neighborhood house. There's like a section there for training for those technical skills. There are pieces coming together. It's not at the volume we need it, but there are pieces there. We've got to promote and support. Columbus City Schools has those technologies. It's just very competitive, just like you said. It's just
No, he was just pointing to me. We weren't cutting you off.
No. I was just saying, once you finish.
yes, you say, okay, gotcha. It's there. It's a beginning. It's tough. We got to start training our children at a very young age how important that is. And you got to look at the demographics of the community.
Yeah. I think she's absolutely right. There are definitely programs, but one program that sticks out to me, I guess very strongly, is the Building Back Together program. It's a program that was put on by the City of Columbus, the Columbus Building Trades, and now even Franklin County. Oh, and then also the Urban League. So what it does, and it's because I've had to speak at mostly all the graduations, but essentially what it does is it puts people in position for apprenticeships. They go through like a 12-week program. They provide financial assistance to get the tools that you need, but they go through this whole programming, and then it really, because they're in partnership with the building trade, it then helps them get a job. And these are programs where you have at least a cohort a month with maybe about 20 plus graduates. Now, I will put a pin there to say there has been some changes, specifically with the building trades. So the programming is still there, but because of the situation, I'm going to just be candid, the situation with the airport and the contracts and who was building and all of that, there's been some breakdown with the unions. So they're not necessarily a part of the program as much as they would like. However, it's still programming in place where people can get the tools that they need, learn what they need to learn, and then go out and find a job. The beautiful part about the building trades actually being in position was it was easier for them to go find a job when they graduated. But I do want to be clear, the program, it's some changes with now the unions at this point, but the program is still going forward, where I think they just had a graduation class over across the street from the King Arts Complex next to the Urban League. They just had a
empowerment building.
Yes, they just had a graduation there, I believe, last month of folks, getting CDLs, getting ready for stuff like that. So it's happening. I think the only disconnect for me that I'm disappointed about is that, unfortunately, things just didn't work out with the unions, and so now they don't have that immediate access to jobs after. But the bottom line is it is still happening, and it's happening in our backyard.
What's the name of it?
Oh my God, it's right here. It is Building Futures. Building Futures Pre-Apprenticeship Program.
Whoa.
Or it's what's the name of it? If you know it, right?
I know what you're talking about.
Well, correct me.
What I was trying to say is that I was a part of that program, and they did put me into a union, and I'm working well with that.
Right.
The problem is that there were a few people that have heard that, hey, I heard that the top dog of it all got RICO. Like, he got into the RICO law. Like, he legitimately had taken people that were working with those unions and is like, hey, if you want to get some extra money, come work with this other place. And it was effectively like the place that he owns that he wanted them to put in work with. And that was a massive RICO problem. So I'm guessing that might be the problem in regard to your union situation.
No, it was specifically the airport situation because I don't know if you guys seen it, but they weren't a part of the new rebuilding of the airport, and there were negotiations between the county and them to do it appropriately and make them be a part of the process, and it didn't work that way. I don't know if you guys remember what I'm talking about. It happened about a year ago.
Yeah.
They are still very much peed off that they brought people from out of state to rebuild our airport, and building Columbus Building Trades is not a part of that. So like that is specifically they have an issue, if I'm being candid, with the county about how they went about it. So I don't know about that. I'm sure it's probably a thing, but their issue was the fact that they could not be a part of the process to rebuild our airport. And as you know, they're extending it. They're building another terminal.
I was just trying to say that because that's kind of the only other issue that you have when it comes to putting in all these new trade programs and everything. It's easy to, my mother always told me you can't teach a person hunger. That's what it is. But the also thing is that you have to be ready, and you have to be ready because I was in those teaching programs, and the moment I got out of there, I got into the job site, it's a whole different reading program. It's a whole different ballpark. So I would say in my recommendation, because I remember I was going to go into my old school, going into Bexley. Bexley, they don't have a trading program. Even the wood shop that they got, that was mostly for theater. Mm-hmm. So you have to say to at least talk to Columbus Public, be like, hey, Ohio is currently building, it's currently booming. Why don't we just take all of the curriculums that you are basically giving to all these public schools and switch them out for something? So that way, we don't have to worry about, we got to put this training program here, we got to put this training program right here, so that way we can get all these children up here. Be like, no, just change the curriculum. If East High School's a public school, you can get with St. Charles. That's a private school. I'm pretty sure they've already got a technical school right there. Bexley, you got all these schools around here. Monroe, I'm pretty sure it's not Monroe Middle School, got demolished. Mifflin, like all those schools right there, just straight up, just tell them, hey, change the curriculum. Be like, all right, so since you're in middle school, since you're in high school, we're going to have to sell or like add a few little expansion on here to like do a woodworking program, or a masonry program, or a welding program. Take them to, take the children out on field trips, get them onto the trade schools. There's a few trade schools down on the airport. There's a few trade schools down on Parsons. Trying to get them into that. But the problem is that, again, you have to get with Columbus Public, because at the end of the day, you can put as many training programs as you can, but if you don't directly tell the children, hey, this is going to happen and we need to put this into situation, you're going to do this, it's going to be all null.
It requires, and maybe that's something where our representative can work on and have before Senator Craig. It has to be done. Because right now it's easy to jump on and say we got to build housing for poor people, but it takes more to say we're gonna train you to be equal to everyone else, and if we don't focus on that, you're gonna always have the bottom always in your face. So I really got to look into this, because we have a lot of building happening right around us that we are not engaged in. So how come our politicians, our lawmakers, we need to bring them together and say, and the union people, because that union has always been a two-edged sword for people. If you're in, you're in. If you're not, you're gonna make sure you don't get in here, because they are guaranteed the jobs. So we have to bring them to the table and say, what is it that you need? Because there's one advantage: there's a shortage of skilled people in the industry. So we have to address that with a plan. And I don't know all the detail, but I'm willing to work with the state, the city. We need a collective effort with the unions to sit down and say, how can we get? We have 6 months or a year, we need to get our folks ready for these jobs that are coming. How do we do this? I don't have the answer.
And we have done that. Willis and I went to meetings with Dr. Harris, who was president of Columbus Public Schools years ago, and the president after Dr. Harris, specifically about this kind of thing. So we went to the top and had discussions with grand planners with Columbus Public Schools, and other people have experience with Columbus Public Schools too. They didn't quite go the way we discussed.
Right. So we have to do that. Yeah.
But we will do it again. We never give up. Never give up.
Well, I think that Columbus State, I think if you graduate from, is it still the case if you graduate from Columbus High School that you get 2 years of free pass at Columbus
Yes,
State?
sir.
In Columbus State, Ohio Health, for example, is building multi-million-dollar structure at Columbus State to train healthcare services, okay? There's always going to be jobs in healthcare services, okay? You go to a hospital now, they can't admit you right upstairs, not because they don't have the beds, they don't have the person on the staff, okay? And there's all kinds of other, technicians, X-ray technicians, all kinds of that. But kids have to understand that that's available to them, okay? They have to know that that's the goal they want to achieve, and then they go about doing what's necessary to get there, okay? And when a lot of kids come into Columbus State, they have to have remedial math and reading courses. So you have to get them prepared with the goal. I want to become a nurse. It's not that hard, okay? When you get 2 years free at Columbus State, we're trying to extend that to 4 years, I understand. Okay? But that opportunity is available if kids know about it and have a goal in mind to reach that objective, and then what they have to do to get there, okay? But there's opportunity out there, and I think that healthcare services is going to be a big part of that, particularly for young women.
Yeah, particularly in this neighborhood, because OSU Hospital East is not going to get smaller. It's just going to continue getting bigger.
Okay, good. Just want to get a couple of updates for everyone. We have about a school program. You want to give us an update and tell everyone who you are. We know you're a wonderful lady from warm areas.
Hello, everyone. My name is Norma. I'm with the Bronzeville Strong Start Youth Learning Initiative. Just in regards to what we were just talking about, I think that this is where the groundwork really begins, is working with our youth, our young people. So just a brief overview as to what it is. It is community-led and driven. Many folks in this room have been part of those focus groups and our design team. And so our mission is to improve math and reading skills and up to third grade success for those when they take those third grade reading and math assessments for specifically our Bronzeville youth. So living in King Lincoln, Bronzeville, 43203 are the population that we serve. And so we do tutoring. Children are enrolled and they do twice a week for an hour. That's hosted at the MLK Library. We have an amazing team of mentors who volunteer their time on a regular basis to doing that, and that's really the heart of the program. And so just in terms of why we hit hard in terms of the reading and math is kind of back to what we're saying, is that at that stage, you can't do the welding, you can't do any of that stuff if you don't know how to read, and math. So we have some really amazing statistics. This began in October of 2023, so we're just a little over a year. And just sharing that in Bronzeville, the third grade reading and math scores are 15%, and we hit 100% in our program. It's truly remarkable just what that pinpoint focusing and community gathering can do for families. And then also there's a chronic absenteeism with our Bronzeville schools at 60%, and we have 0 chronically absent in our program. And even to the point where we continued over the summer and we had 100% enrollment. All of our students continued on.
One question, when you say chronically, excuse me, absent, what's chronically?
So it is, if you look it up, it says like 12 days. So like they have it in like red, yellow, different colors, like how that, so it's, I have to look back again, but it's anywhere, I want to say like 12 or 5. There's a marker to that, but how many days that they are absent.
In a month.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or in a year, I think it is. I think it's for the year. We have some teachers.
No.
Okay, all right. It's like somebody can help me with that. So I'm sorry if but I don't have that readily available. And then we did over the winter break a holiday brain game challenge. So the kids were out of school, and we had 83% of parents and families participate in doing that. And so that means they did workbook at home, flashcards, 15 to 20 minutes of reading. And so this is time that we don't know what they would have been doing otherwise, but in communities where we have, high at risk, it may have been plugging into devices or etc. But the outcomes of that have been amazing. Just that parent-child time focused on academic learning. So that's been huge. And, we invite everybody to be a part of that and come out and see it, engage in it, be a mentor or share the information with other people. If you're not part of our email list, please, let me know. I can add you to that, so that way you can see what's happening with the program. And then a huge part of that is strengthening families. So we also connect families to resources for housing, food. This is shared with folks too about the Bethany lunches, helping with job support, things like that. So we understand that student success is bearing on family success. So big thanks to all our community partners. And
So all this is continuing for the coming year also, right?
yes, and we are working on actively what the summer program will look like. So we're hoping that will be able to serve far more Bronzeville youth and have a program that runs the summer.
And what's the number of students, and how is Trevitt Heights? I know we're working with the principal there. How is that going, and the number of students that you have?
Thanks for that reminder. So we now have wonderful buy-in and endorsement from the 3 principals who have, essentially said that this is the program that they advocate for, working with them for student success. So that is Trevitt Elementary, United Prep East, and also Eastgate. So those 3 principals have, and we began with 6 and we're now at 32.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Yeah. I want to say, I'm sitting in for Bruce Hill, who's spearheaded and continued to be, that huge push and community collaborator, and is also a mentor.
So are the principals communicating between themselves also?
Not currently, but we have invited, as part of our design team. So that is a good way of next steps.
That would strengthen the program.
Yeah, and support as we have our state representative here, and maybe something you can have on the state floor, because this is where you see a problem and you address it from the grassroots.
Right.
And we have all these fancy things, but they don't work. But this is where you can say, look, we need to lend support. We need, so this is a takeaway for you, which I know you don't need many more, but you can pass it on to colleagues and say, we need to support this financially, verbally, however we need to. But this is really a success story. Because this is what used to happen in the past. We had the after school program. We even had a program, and where churches were participating in all that. So now we didn't have anything fancy. It's just saying you start with 6, you end up with this, but look at the results. It's very good to hear. And so we need to have you take it to the state, and definitely we need to have something with our council members as well. We let them know this is what's happening.
Yeah, at least promote it.
Yeah.
They don't get anything else out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think first of all, I want to say thank you and everyone for your work on ensuring that our babies are getting the help that they need. I think when they talk about supports, I think where I come in best right now is making sure that the organization is connected with entities who provide resources. State, in my capacity, only does the capital budget, and then you have your state operating budget. But obviously, as you know, the city has access to grants, the different departments have access to grants. And then even in the state, outside of anything that I do, there's access to grants through maybe minority health and things like that. And so I say all that to say where I come in right now to be able to support, as they are suggesting, is making sure that I'm connecting you with the opportunities so that you can start making the case. And I think one of the places I would connect you to first would be the Department of Minority Health through the State of Ohio. Director Angela Dawson oversees that. And we can get that set up very quickly, actually.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And one thing you can say that we know of her participation, that if she says something, she's going to follow and make sure it's done. Even if it's against the current, she does make it happen. So, so stay close, get her the information too. Okay. Thank you so much, Nora. And Jim, we need to kind of give a summation of where you are and what we are trying to do, and for next season with the cleanup. Well, and amount of money that we spent, you and everyone spent last year. We even put some to that too, about treasurer back there.
The basic problem is that the city right-of-ways, the sidewalks, the curbs, the alleys are city right-of-ways, but the city does not maintain them, okay? Everybody in the neighborhood assumes that the city's maintaining them, so nobody's maintaining them.
Right.
And when we started in June of 2024, everything looked like it was neglected, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Weeds on the sidewalks and the curbs. And so we've done the hard work. We gathered probably $30,000 from the community. I put in over 600 hours of volunteer activity. We shoveled out all the sod from the curbs that accumulated over 10 years. So now we just have to go back and clean them up with a weed ripper without having to dig out the sod. I would say that we've done all the major thoroughfares, and they're probably 70% improved from what they were when we started back in June, okay? And the objective of this is we're trying to address both crime and the failing schools, okay? And we're trying to, this neighborhood is historically, the standards in this neighborhood have been lowered, okay? And if you have the bias of low expectations, no matter how much money you throw at these kids, they got to walk through trash and overgrown weeds to get to school. We're going to have the bias of low expectations, and not much is going to work, okay? So we've been working for a year and a half now. I just got the permit from the city of Columbus to do city right-of-way cleanup over 2026. Willis is going to put in a grant request from the city council.
Right.
The city council gave the south side of Columbus $168,000, okay, for community improvement. We can do twice that with $40,000 in our community, okay? So we're going to try and get at least $40,000. And we've done all the major thoroughfares, we haven't done all the neighborhood streets yet. But we can turn this neighborhood around in terms of it. Now, you wouldn't see any of this in any of the suburbs, okay? You wouldn't see overgrown weeds and trash and illegal dumping, and it's hard work to clean that up. We've got much of it cleaned up on the major thoroughfares and such, and we're going to try and get a grant from the city this time, about $40,000, so we can do it and finish it up and make it look good. By the time 2028 comes in, there's going to be so much investment in this community that the whole structure of the community is going to change. Okay, they're putting almost $500 million into this community in terms of new buildings. Okay, so but the transition point, that's where we're at right now. And I think we can get support from Novine maybe to help support this. I'm not going to ask City Council for a yearly stipend, but we can get support from the community to do it once we show it's good. Whatever Novine does with Sawyer Towers, if the neighborhood looks like it has lower standards, looks like it's trashed up, it's not going to work for them, okay? The crime issues, we have residual of drugs and crime. We've worked with Franklin County Community service for community service, and they come out and help us. There's alternative sentencing rather than putting fathers in jail. They come out and do community service with us, keeps them in the family. We think that program will be expanded. There's going to be a work requirement for welfare also, and they need to think ahead of that and find a way to put these people in community service, okay? Because there's lots of work for them to do out there, okay? And we're not asking them to come out and do it for us. They're working with us. We're out there working with them, okay? So it's not like punishment. They're actually contributing to the community, which is a different perspective, okay? So that's what we're up to. We need to get our grant in.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we will.
We've had help from BuzzFeed Customer Church and OSU hospitals back, and we've had support from Columbus Metropolitan Housing Association,
Bronzeville
Neighborhood Association. But we need support from this coming year. We need support from City Council to make it work well, and that's what we're working on.
And the state. Yeah, have some. We take it from anywhere. All right. Thank you. Appreciate that.
All right, NEAC has two properties coming up to the planning committee. One which should be, well, both of them probably will be of interest to you. One is the Poindexter Village African American Museum, which is a joint project between Union Grove Baptist Church and the Historical Society. So basically, the Historical Society owns the land where the original Poindexter units are, and they're using some of Baptist Union Grove's land to expand the entire footprint. They are asking primarily for a parking variation, but it's a very interesting design, so if any of you can attend, it would be great. The other property is the Fly House on Oak, and they are asking for a parking variance also, which is probably not particularly of interest to folks at this point. The other thing that
the dates of that meeting.
Say it again?
The date for the Poindexter meeting.
It's this Thursday. It's all meeting NEAC will start at 6:30.
Okay.
So this is the planning and zoning committee meeting.
Oh, okay.
And so on Saturday, January 31st, NEAC is having a retreat, and it is open to all residents on the Near East Side. If you want to attend, you should probably RSVP because they will provide lunch if you're there during lunch. And we just need a head count on who's going to get
But
lunch.
is that the same retreat that's going to be in the Bahamas? You can stop me.
I have some flyers. If you'd like to pick up the flyers.
Thank you.
Bob is in the Bahamas. You sign me up, right?
It's like,
And that's the end of the NEAC report.
Thanks a lot, Bob. I appreciate that. All right, we're near the end. Does anyone have any other comments or statements that you would like to? Well, if there are none, we move to an adjournment until next time. And our next meeting will be February.
Second Saturday in February. I'm not sure the date. That second Saturday.
Yes, and we look forward to those tuning in and coming. Again, thank everyone for coming. And don't forget Monday, the memorial service for Marjorie. And that's at the Varsity Presbyterian Church at 11:30 this coming Monday.